It's great to be at one of the key aviation assets in the southeast. So I just want to applaud Kathy in terms of the facility which we're in today, because there are a number of different aviation assets across the whole of the southeast. You'll be familiar with some of the larger ones in terms around the London airport system, business airports such as here at Farnborough, and also regional airports such as Southampton, which may be less familiar to some of you, but absolutely fundamental to the success of the region in which we reside. If you look across the world, if you look across Europe, or indeed across the rest of the UK, each and every single one of them has a successful regional airport at its heart. Perhaps uniquely, and you've seen a lot of diagrams, I know, during the course of today, but I think it'd only be right to highlight that Southampton Airport also does sit alongside two other ports in the form of Southampton and Portsmouth. That's important because I don't think there's anywhere else, certainly in the southeast, maybe let alone across the whole of the UK, whereby there are three ports in such close proximity. And that's something which I want to come back to in terms of addressing some of the future requirements for this particular part of the southeast. Now, Southampton Airport has grown in terms of its significance over the course of the last 5 to 10 years. I think there's a number of reasons for that, one of which is down to its existing surface access, but also it's set within the context of a much broader landscape in terms of aviation provision. I'm not going to rehearse today in terms of what that looks like in the southeast, because that's been covered certainly elsewhere, and Southampton Airport endorses the fact that there is going to be incremental capacity which will provide worldwide connectivity through runway 3 out of Heathrow in the future. But that is still some time away. So therefore, we've been concentrating and will concentrate very much in terms of providing improved connectivity, of which we've been very successful. We now have 10 airlines, 2.1 million passengers, providing not only European connectivity, important to our region is also domestic connectivity, something which is often overlooked. It can take, for instance, from the south coast, 4 hours to gain access to Manchester by train, 5 hours to gain access to the northeast, or indeed 7 hours to get as far as Glasgow. So it's not only European connectivity, but also domestic connectivity, as well as the broader worldwide reach which needs to be achieved through regional airports. At the same time as providing improved connectivity are the actual economic generation of airports themselves. Perhaps Heathrow and Gatwick has been covered very extensively over the last 5 years, but for a small regional airport such as Southampton, that is still nevertheless very significant in the context of our region. So just under 1,000 jobs employed at the airport, with over 160 million economic generation. So turning to the future, the key aspect sat within the context of the southeast is an opportunity to double the throughput of the airport, at least over the course of the next 10 to 20 years, to provide that ongoing connectivity which we know our businesses require. In fact, 30% of our passengers at the moment are already travelling for business reasons, very high compared to other regional airports and indeed national assets in this country. At the same time, an opportunity to grow the economic footprint of the airport to 1,500 jobs and over 400 million economic contribution, which is very substantial in the far southwestern corner of the TFSC area. At the same time, providing opportunity for further inbound tourism opportunities, something which we haven't heard a huge amount today, but represents a real opportunity for our region as a key gateway into the southeast area. In terms of surface access challenges, I suppose it's stating the obvious, but every single air journey has to start on the ground somewhere, whether that be at someone's front door, whether it be at the office location, or indeed, particularly for Southampton, on board a ship, whether he be a cruise passenger or somebody arriving on one of the short sea crossings into one of the two ports in the region. I think it's fair to say that the road and rail connectivity has a mixed blessing in our region. I think it'd be very easy to knock a number of the surface access conditions. Actually, we do have some fantastic assets in our region in the form of motorways and rail connectivity, particularly into London. It can always be improved, but we start from a reasonable place already. However, when you then overlay on top of that the aspirations and the requirements of the 3 ports, this is where the geographic context comes into place. We also heard earlier in the day from SDG in terms of the amount of development, you may recall in the bottom left-hand corner, the existing congestion, but the growth in terms of housing in that region means that the network is increasingly coming under stress, particularly at peak hours. So as a result of that, the key ask is around further development in terms of the strategic road network, particularly on a north-south alignment, which is co-joined with the aspirations of the port of both Southampton and Portsmouth, as well as the airport, but also on an east-west context. So it was great to hear earlier in terms of the support around the development of smart motorways for the M27, but importantly also looking to rail. At the moment, it actually takes longer to go by rail from Portsmouth to Southampton Airport than it does to get to London. And I think that's a sad position, to put it politely, if I'm honest, given that the Solent region is the most populous region in the whole of the southeast outside of London. So that's a sad indictment, and therefore we would look for improvements to enhance the percentage of passengers using public transport in the future, and potentially looking at other modal split towards a Solent Metro or derivative of that, given the growth in housing along the ribbon development of the M27 between Portsmouth and Southampton, really to free up and to add resilience to the overall network. So hopefully that's given you a degree of insight into Southampton Airport, which sits within the overall tapestry of aviation assets in the southeast, the part which they play to support the business community and the aspirations of connecting both people and products to markets, and the requirement for surface access, which is a fundamental part of any air journey. Thank you.